Hi, my name's Elly Greaney and I'm the Commercial Director at Transition Partners. We're a tech recruitment consultancy with an office in Leeds covering the UK market and an office based in Berlin. I've worked within tech for the past 5 years and find the market fascinating. I'm really passionate about helping women not only get in tech, but really advance their career with an exciting industry that can provide endless opportunities. I love networking and finding out about other people's stories. I decided to set up the journey of a woman in tech to share knowledge, wisdom, and hopefully have a laugh along the way. Feel free to get in touch on LinkedIn to see how you can get involved. I hope you enjoy the podcast. Hi everyone, thank you very much for joining us today. Really pleased to have my first guest on the journey of a woman in tech today. So I've got the lovely Tammy Kennedy, who's Solution Design Manager at BT. I've known Tammy for a couple of years now. She's not only been a client, but become a good friend. She's got involved in a lot of our women in tech events across the North. So really pleased to have her on today and find out a little bit more about her journey into tech. Hi, Tammy.
Hi, Elly.
Thank you very much for coming on today.
Thanks for having me.
Sharing your time with us. So got a few questions to kind of go through with you, really, to tell the listeners all about your story and your journey into tech. So if you can start by giving a brief sort of introduction into your current role and what you're up to at the moment, that'd be fantastic.
Yeah, of course can. So I've been with BT now about 3 years. I mean, to be fair, it was EE when I started, and we all became one big consumer digital department at the back end of last year. So my team look after all the solution design. So it's really more digital business analysts, to put that into a bit of context. So there's about 15 of us now. There was 3 when I started. So there's been a lot of growth over that last 3 years. So yeah, and we look after, still at the minute, primarily the EE estate, but we're moving more and more into that cross-brand and picking up some of the BT elements as well. So everything on the websites, their apps, that's all our remit.
Amazing. So all the cool digi stuff then.
All the cool digi stuff.
Okay. And how did you get into tech? Obviously, you've worked within the industry for a number of years. How did your journey begin?
Well, that's very politely put, Elly. I've been in the industry now for over 20 years. So digital actually as a whole didn't even exist when I first got into this. I was probably a little bit different to most as well, in that I was 7 when I decided that, I know it sounds a little bit crazy, but I was 7 when I decided I wanted to be a systems analyst. And I proudly went home and told my mum this, who nodded politely and said, "Oh, that's really good, love. Yes, you'll be great."
How did you even know what a systems analyst was back then?
I have no idea. But essentially at primary school, they were just bringing computers into the school. And I ended up testing them all and sitting with them and using them. And that's where the bug started. So yeah, I know it's not quite normal, but for me, that was it. So I knew from then that a career in tech, whatever it was what I was wanting to do and what I was going to do.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
It's so unusual as well to have someone that young know what they want to do, particularly around technology. A lot of women find that they go into sort of the industry later in life, so that's great. And how did you take that to the next level then and make a career out of it? So
in a way, it was quite good for me because I had that focus, even if I didn't fully know what a systems analyst was, obviously at 7. I knew tech was my world. So I always had that focus. I didn't have that, where do I want to go? So all through school, I could be very focused about what I chose to do and which paths I followed. So I did that. I was I loved education. I was all about that until I got to my A-levels and started those. And to be honest,
difficult years.
They were appalling. I really hated them. And that was really one of the first times that kind of the wheels looked a bit wobbly. So I made a decision to actually drop those, which was a big thing for me. And actually followed my vocational training path, which seemed to fit better with what I was looking to do.
More hands-on.
And actually learning real stuff rather than just the theory of things.
Brilliant.
So yeah, that was a bit of a change in path for me, but that was the closest it got really to...
So was it like an apprenticeship then?
Well, back in the day, they were called youth training schemes. It was like YTS. I think I got a whole £30 a week for attending. So, but from the nothing I got at college, this was like quite a lot of money back then.
I can imagine.
Yeah, so this is like the 90s. So, that was like...
Tammy girl.
I know. Got you a few bows for your hair. But no, it was really interesting. I was so glad I did it because that was a 2-year full-time course and I got to see lots and lots of different elements of the tech world. So that's where, for all that I've always had that bug and that drive, that's where it really started to solidify and I could start working out which paths I wanted to go down.
Amazing. So where was your first job?
So my first job was at Grattan's Catalogue, which is still going to this day.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that was my first job as a trainee analyst programmer.
Amazing.
On mainframes. So we didn't even have PCs. We had mainframe dumb terminals. COBOL.
Oh, was it? Okay.
There's good money to be made in that now, but
yeah, I think a few people are still out there.
Yeah, they're all like retiring, and nobody else is picking it up, so the banks are loving it. But yes, that was like the first job I did, but it was the analysis as well as the development.
Great. Amazing. And then how did you sort of progress through that career to where you are today then as solution design manager?
Yeah, so I was actually at Grattan quite a long time. You look at it now and people move around sort of every sort of 3 to 4 years. I was there nearly 14 years.
Wow.
I know.
You must have enjoyed it.
Well, I did, but mostly because it changed a lot. It wasn't the same thing. I wasn't doing the same thing for that long. The industry changed. I mean, obviously not quite the invention of the internet, but the adoption by mainstream companies came along, and we were there for the birth of that at Grattan.
Amazing.
And their first online forays and things, and they've come a long way, is all I will say, from those first days. But it was something really interesting, and it changed, and it gave you a new focus, and that's what I found worked really well for me, is not doing the same thing day in, day out.
Yeah, you decided to step away from the technical then and move into more like business systems analysis, drop the programming in. So
I moved. I enjoyed the programming, and I think doing that gave me a lot of good background, an understanding of how these guys work every day and what they do. But for me, it was always the analysis side that was what drove me and what I wanted to get into more. Yeah. So as I had that opportunity, I drove my career down that side, and built it from there, really.
Amazing. And since then, you've worked with some big brands. You've worked with Hermes. You've worked Step Change Debt Charity.
Yeah.
Obviously, now BT, which is amazing. So you've worked with a variety of different businesses, different industries.
Yeah.
Now, as a woman, what challenges do you think you faced?
So, yeah, and I'd love to say, oh, no, it was so easy. There wasn't any. But everyone knows that's not quite true. Obviously, way back when I first started, there was even less women around in the industry than there are now. I think I could count on one hand the amount of women that there were in our department, and it was a big department.
Stuck together.
Well, kind of, but again, not really.
Yeah.
So we didn't make like a click out of it or anything. It was just obviously when you first start, you do naturally gravitate because you thought, oh, there's another woman, that's great, and we could talk and share things, and that was good. And I think I was a little bit naive because I was only 21 when I started working, and didn't realise really that it was such a minority.
Yeah.
Until I think I'd probably been there about 18 months, and it was an off-the-cuff comment somebody made, and I suddenly looked around and it's like, oh God, yeah. Actually, yeah, no, I'm a minority. This is a little bit weird. And I think because I'd had that focus from being so young, and that was when I think I started looking at the industry slightly differently. And even back then, I was starting to think about what I could maybe do and how things could change and how things hopefully would change.
Amazing. So you must have seen so many, obviously, different organisations, different teams, different structures, but you've really seen how the way women in tech has developed and progressed to what it is today. And obviously, you get heavily involved in sort of contributing to the women in tech scene, particularly in Yorkshire, don't you? So can you tell us a little bit more about what you get involved in?
So I think, to be fair, it was coming to some of your guys' events and a couple of other events over the last few years, and I felt that I was coming away from them, and it was good and positive in the side that someone was actually putting a forum together for us to be able to get together and talk. But then on the other side, part of me felt that some of the people attending were only there to talk about it. And maybe a free glass of wine don't go amiss, but no, I was talking to Ian Holloway, my current manager, about it, and I was saying, like, it gets a little bit frustrating because sometimes you end up having the same conversations.
Yeah, and I could have put in actions is what it's about.
Well, this was it, and I could feel him looking at me, and I went, so I have to actually do something about this, haven't I? Not just talk about it. And he's like, yes. So it was, I got great support both from Ian and from the company to follow up on that and to actually do things. Because for me, one of the biggest drivers to get women into technology is education.
So how do you feel about like challenges for the next gen then?
So this is it. And, I've been doing a little bit of work with schools as well and different education departments. Because again, that was one of those things, if I want to talk about, it's important to get children into tech and the younger generation, especially girls, then that's where I had to focus some of my time as well. And it is scary how many drop out and how many will not pursue the technical or science things at school because it's perceived to be more for boys, or they don't sell them well enough. And that's nothing detrimental against the school. I don't think they understand the industry well enough and how it has changed.
And the opportunities. I think it's the extent of the opportunities, isn't it, that are available. It's not just cold, hard programming that you could do in tech. There's
exactly. And that's what people think. They think, oh, no, I don't want to be a techie nerd. I don't want to sit there and code. And you know what? There's nothing wrong if you do. Yeah. And I think, you know, it's important to still encourage that side as well. Mm-hmm. But I think the other side is saying to people, do you know how many careers there are in technology? And we've done sort of careers fairs in schools, and part of the challenge is, I'm not going to lie, we draw them in with chocolate or shiny banners, and you know it helps, but it's once you get them, they're like, oh yeah, I've got to talk to you, but you know you won't go, oh, I'd be interested. And it's like, well, try me. What do you enjoy?
And you relate that back to then tech and where those skills would be. And
you know, it's not all about coding. We have designers, we have UX, we have, you know, my team, this is what we do. You know, we design all this stuff, and you know, it's even just getting them to think about that and get them to realise it's not as simple as they think. You know, when, you know, so I've asked them, right, you know, you've seen, even if you haven't seen our mobile website, which I'm sure you have, you've all seen it, and oh yeah, we've got those. And it's all right, so you've used the apps, you've seen the website. How many people do you think are behind putting those together? And I think it's about 20 people. And it's like, no. And, you know, they are honestly shocked when you tell them, you know, there are hundreds of people who work into that. You know, and I think the last count in BT Consumer Digital, so obviously it's covering a much wider scope of products, there's over 1,000 people behind putting those together.
Wow, that's crazy, isn't it? And I think it was interesting how you mentioned about like STEM in general as well, because I know when I've come to it, we've taken part in some women in tech events at EE, BT in your office before, and it's interesting as an organisation how not only, even though you're obviously the digital arm and the tech aspect, it's good how you get like the actual engineers, the BT engineers, the females within that industry that are really getting that out there and bringing there and discussing how they're finding it. And that's really interesting as well, I think, as how BT in general kind of got everyone involved working together to sort of promote women in STEM based roles, I guess.
Well, BT actually have a Tech Women programme that they've run for, I think it's the last 5 years now. And it started relatively small, but the last cohort was huge. We're talking, you know, they had, I think it was 500 women from across the BT group. Now, obviously, that is internationally. But 500 women for a year were selected to do this, and they were given opportunities and training, and it is a whole year-long programme of events.
That's brilliant. Do you know what the stats were around remaining in those positions at the end of that? Or?
So the idea isn't that really that you even remain in those positions, it's that you move on.
So you experience it.
Well, no, but that you move on and get promotions or new opportunities within the group as well. So it's not just about encouraging you to stay in it, it's about pushing yourself and getting yourself to that next level.
That's amazing. It's really good to work for a company that gets involved and I guess pushes that aspect, which is so important. So obviously after a really long successful career in tech, what would you say your greatest achievement has been?
I mean, like I said, there has been 20 years of this. So, you know, whether it was, you know, at one point I said it was getting that first role and actually, you know, adopting that and really loving it and excelling at that. But I think, honestly, more recently, it's been the things I'm doing outside my role to promote the industry.
That's amazing.
And I've actually found it more rewarding than I thought.
Yeah.
At first, it was something I knew it was important, and I knew I had to do it, and to encourage anybody, but primarily women, to get into that industry. But I have found it so rewarding and actually got to meet so many other great people who are doing the same thing. It's nice to know you're not out there on your own doing this.
And to create positive outcomes at the end of it, which is amazing, isn't it?
It is, and seeing something tangible that comes from it.
Yeah, definitely.
It's been fantastic.
Cool. Good work. So, throughout your 20 years in tech, who would you say has been your greatest role model?
So it's not somebody that anybody, apart from a handful of people, probably know. Okay. And it was actually the first head of department where I worked at Grattan. Unfortunately, she's not with us anymore. She's a lady called Linda Holt. And she really showed me what you can achieve and what you can do. So bearing in mind, this was like 1997.
Yeah.
And she was already running and leading a technology department for a big company. So she had been in this game, you know, a long time, but had shown what can be done. But was also one of the most honest and humble people I have ever met. And she was happy to talk to anybody and give them time and information. So for me, having that such a strong female leader at such an early point in my career was fantastic, and something that's really stuck with me, and something that I hope, you know, that I can share with others. So like, we have graduates in our department at the moment. We've it was actually 3 women that we took on for the first time. We did a DevOps specific graduate scheme.
Right, okay.
And not for any other reason than they were the best candidates we had through the door.
Brilliant.
And we've just literally this minute done their end of second rotation review and see how they have grown and moved and gone through this industry, and the confidence they have found and built is fantastic. And knowing that I've even had a small part of that is really
And that's
good.
a legacy that Linda, I guess, set in you and taught you, which is amazing. That's really great.
So, you know, if I can share that with other people, then I'm all for that.
That's amazing. And words of wisdom then. So if people looking up to you as a role model, which I'm sure plenty of women, not only in BT, but leads are, because you get really involved in the tech community, which is amazing. But if you were to sort of advise your younger self or give some words of wisdom to people out there that are kind of struggling and unsure of how to really get into tech or take their next step in their career, what would your words of wisdom be, Tammy?
In a way, it's so much easier nowadays to reach out and ask for help or ask for advice, or to ask, you know, how other people have done this. Yeah, my day, you didn't have Twitter, you didn't have the wealth of availability of people across the globe on social media. So for those who are a little bit older and maybe looking at where they want to go, is reach out to those people. You'd be amazed. You know, get in touch with people on LinkedIn or anyone that you see. Majority will help you. They will give you some time. And I think that's a fantastic thing for people to do, but more importantly, to be open enough and honest enough to ask and to not be scared. Try something.
Yeah, definitely. I always think it's really impressive when you see on platform. Well, it's not really impressive, is it? It's just people helping others. But I always think it's great to see how many people are prepared to give up their own time to help support others within the industry progress, whether it be women, men, whoever, whatever. It's everyone helping one another progress and develop within this industry, which is really amazing. And it's so great to see.
And I think the tech community are really good for that.
Yeah.
It's something that is definitely one of their strengths. They are open, they are honest, they do want to share, they do want to help others.
Yeah.
So yeah, for me, it's that ask. And if you're not sure what something is, you know, go find out about it. Don't be afraid to give something a go, and don't be afraid to be honest enough to admit that something is not for you.
I think that's the thing in our industry as well. If you don't know something, there's so many opportunities and so many platforms where you can go away and learn things.
Yes.
It's not the be all and end all if you can't program in a certain language, but you want to apply for a role that requires it. You just go out and learn it, or say that you want to give it a try. And people are so open, which is fantastic.
Yeah, and be honest about that.
Yeah, of course.
I mean, God, you know, how many discussions have we had about this, you know, about how women see job adverts versus men, versus, you know, how women do believe they have to have everything. Whereas men, if they've got half, think they're a shoo-in.
It's not true, girls. Get applying.
It's not true. And, you know, I've done it myself and looked at it. And you have to call yourself out and say, no, actually, as long as I go into this and I'm honest, I say, yeah, these 5, do you know what? I'm top of my game. I'm great at these.
Yeah.
These 2, not a clue. But do you know what? Give me a couple of months, I'll pick it up.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's what it's all about, isn't it? Just putting the effort and trying, and people always appreciate your honesty with that. So, yeah, particularly those last couple of tips that you gave us, hopefully that will really help out with some women out there. If anyone's got any questions, I'm sure Tammy will be happy to answer anything on LinkedIn. So it's Tammy Kennedy from BT, so Solution Design Manager. So get in touch on LinkedIn. If anyone's got any questions about the podcast or is interested in getting involved, we'd love to hear from you. So thank you very much for your time today, Tammy. My name's Elly Greaney, and appreciate you listening. Thank you very much.